It's all about making something last for eternity.
Iguodala to Curry, back to Iguodala, up for the layup. Oh, blocked by James. Back out to Allen, his three-pointer, bang! Irving puts it up, it's good. Cleveland is a city of champions once again.
We ain't scared of them cats, man. That's the moment.
The Lakers repeat back-to-back titles. Wow.
This game, I love it, man.
Cleveland! This is for you!
It's Wednesday. That means Hoop Streams is back at it, coming to you live on Twitter. Anything is possible. I'm Cassidy Hubbarth alongside Amin in Arizona and Perk in Houston. And look, guys, today Doc Rivers is going to join us as we revisit Doc Rivers. I think you know him. Yeah.
Bring it on.
To your title in 2008. And we're preparing to watch Game 4 and Game 6 of those finals tonight as the Top 5 Classic games on ESPN starting at 7 Eastern. What'd you say, Perk?
I said classics. Amin, listen, hold on, Cassidy. Amin, why are you hiding the microphone? Put it up so we can see it.
Oh, I'm doing my Ralph Lawler impersonation right now. Oh me, oh my, bingo, bango.
That's like one of them five heartbeat microphones right there.
Nights like this, I wish.
I mean, what is that from? Is that like from your karaoke mic? Like, why?
So this is the mic I use to record podcasts because it gets a better sound quality than the Apple headphones or whatever. And so usually I'm connected through my iPad to do the show, but my kids were using my iPad, so the battery's dead. So I have to use a laptop today. And the laptop comes with this mic. So
blame the kids.
It's always their fault.
Well, speaking of,
not charging your iPad. Blame the kids. I do it also.
that fits in well to what we do, quarantines. Having the kids mess with us is what today is. But Perk, we got to start with you. How's the weight loss program going?
Oh, it's going well. I'm down 33 pounds right now. I'm at it. I'm dedicated. I'm motivated. See, I'm at the gym still. I'm quarantining. Like, the gym not open, but it's owned by my good friend, Coach Mario, Boxing Fitness for all. So I still got a long ways to go, though. I'm trying to get down to about 250, right?
What?
Yeah. Why not?
That's not a healthy weight for you.
Yeah, it is. Well, how you know me?
Because you like 6'10", 6'11", you got a big frame. Like, when was the last time you weighed 250, honestly?
And the lowest I ever been was 258. But listen, I'm not really 6'10" or 6'11". I'm 6'8.5". People don't understand.
Oh, the truth coming out now.
Yeah, I just got long arms. That's how I was able to play center and bang down low. So, like, I'm not 6'10", but it's going great. I'm motivated. I'm staying focused. I haven't cheated on my diet one time, and I usually cheat. I usually have me a cheat day on Saturdays, and I've been staying focused.
We're proud of you, Perk. We're proud of you. And I mean, let him go for 250. Can you let him live? He wants to be brand new. I mean, no one's coming at you because you've been looking brand new lately, apparently, Amin. We saw your Instagram post. Can you explain what this look was?
Oh, man, that's an 80s R&B singer right there. 80s R&B singers always had their hair like that. No shape up, no fade. And then you got to have a big mustache with it, too.
See, I was ready on target with the 5 heartbeats, with the mic. Right there all day.
I got so many funny remarks from my friends on Instagram. My favorite one, though, was like, I look like a 6th member of the Whispers. So.
It's a rough look. Was that recent? Because did you grow the whole beard?
Yeah, no, it all came back out. Yeah, 2 days later. No, that was actually 2 years ago. Last time I grew my beard out like this. Whenever I grow my hair or my beard out, when I get to my end of my rope and I'm like, all right, I gotta go get a cut, I always like mess around a little bit like, because I'll never have this opportunity again to have a mustache like that. So I do that. So I might cut this into a mohawk when I'm ready to cut it all down or whatever. It's just something fun to take pictures of right before you get to that final stage of looking clean cut again.
Well, we'll be waiting to see what you put out there. But that's not the only thing that has been happening on our social media accounts. Perk, you've been all hyped about The Last Dance, and that means you've been saying a whole lot, which means it's time for Man Listen.
Man, listen. Hey, listen. Listen now. Listen. Hey, listen. Man, listen.
Okay, Perk, we saw your tweets, and those tweets got tens of thousands of likes.
I didn't know this, right, until I watched the episodes the last Sunday that, I heard and I watched the highlights of Jordan having 63 and 49 points, but I didn't know that he lost those games. So when I was watching the documentary, I was like, oh, so everyone was bragging about these 63 points in this 49-point game that he had, but nobody mentioned that he lost and he got swept to the Boston Celtics. Now, I know the Celtics was the best team in the league, and you're talking about arguably the top 5 greatest team ever. But at the end of the day, all I was saying was that where's this same energy when we talk about LeBron James? When we talk about LeBron James, when he goes to the finals and averages a triple-double on teams and everyone says, oh, that don't mean nothing, or the first game against game 1 against Golden State with KD, and he goes for 51, 8, 8, and it's just like, oh, he still didn't beat him, and it's like, where's this same energy? And then, by the way, the other tweet that I put out, because LeBron, at the age of 22, LeBron James carried the team without, a certified Robin with a Daniel Gibson, a Damon Jones, a Drew Gooden. He took that team to the finals. So I was just comparing Michael Jordan at the age of 22 and LeBron James at the age of 22. That's all I did. I never said who was the GOAT or who was the greatest of all time. I just sparked up a conversation.
Yeah, Perk, there's parts of me that agree with you and there's parts that don't agree. I'm going to tell you like this. From the standpoint of when this documentary was coming out, a lot of people, particularly older players and stuff, they're saying, all right, now you're going to see how different it was back then. It was real and it was tough. It's not like y'all got it today and all that stuff. We heard all that stuff. And what's funny is you watch those first 2 episodes and all it did was solidify that things ain't changing in the NBA. A lot of stuff is the same. So, for instance, people get on LeBron's case about having friends who play for other teams. Jordan and them didn't have friends. They was enemies at all times. And then we see him golfing with Danny Ainge in the middle of the playoffs.
Right.
Like, not even like his homeboy he went to college with, like Kenny Smith or James Worthy. Danny Ainge.
Right.
There's no way you could have told me him and Danny Ainge go way back, right? So clearly, friendships across enemy lines is not a new thing in the NBA. And Jordan did it just like LeBron does it, right? So I'm with you there. I'm with you on if LeBron had scored 49 and 63, he would be destroyed, right? And lost those games, he would be destroyed. But I'm here to tell you, Perk, they were killing Jordan back then. Now they're not. You're right. Now the results of those games are forgotten. Right. But at the time, they would kill him. They would say, oh, he's selfish. All he want to do is get his. He don't pass the ball. He's not a winner. He's not like Magic and Larry. That's what they were saying at the time. And I told this to the guys on the production call the other day. I got in my bookmarks a YouTube video from the NBA on NBC intro where Marv Albert talking about O.J. Simpson rushed for 7 million yards, but he never went to a Super Bowl. Ernie Banks, Mr. Cub, never went to the World Series. Bob Lanier, a 15-year career, like right up there with Kareem and all the other great bigs of the league, never won a championship. And Michael Jordan. And they were talking about Jordan like he a loser, man. We forget now because he erased all those memories with win after win after win once he got to the finals. But the reality is, up until he made his first NBA Finals, the criticism about him was just as loud as what you think the criticism would be about LeBron if he had done well.
I agree with you 100% except on one point. There's no way he was getting criticized like if LeBron James got criticized because his expectations wasn't on the same level. Like that was the whole thing. That was one of the concepts that I got from watching it, because when Larry Bird spoke on Michael Jordan, and they spoke after he dropped 63 and 49, they was like, where did this come from? So in their eyes, they wasn't expecting it. So when he came in, and all of a sudden,
that was his second year in the league.
Perk.
I understand, and then it's social media. It changes the game as far as what you're talking about. Okay. But you will see the next 2 episodes airing on Sunday are about Jordan going after his first title and having to get through the bad boy Pistons. So that conversation will come up. I want to continue the conversation about differences in eras and how that's impacted playing style, camaraderie between competitors, and the way the game's played today. So to do that, we bring in a guy who played against Jordan in the 90s.
Who was that?
He's a coach in today's NBA and won a ring with you, Perk, last decade. We are so happy to welcome Doc Rivers to the show. Coach, I see you got the quarantine beard working out there. How you doing?
Yeah, I never knew that barbers were so important in our lives. Let me tell you, we miss them. We miss them all.
Barbers and colorists and nail salons. I get it.
Oh, gosh.
Look, we were just talking about The Last Dance and Michael Jordan. What did you think of the first 2 episodes of The Last Dance?
Oh, I loved it. I loved it. First of all, we needed it. I mean, sitting at home watching everything sport-wise, but nothing new, no new content. It was just really great for everybody that loves the NBA and Michael Jordan sports to see it. I learned some stuff. You know, I kind of knew most of it. You know, like I didn't know that Michael Jordan was drafted and then the Olympics were played after that. Like you would never see that now for the most part. And so that was just incredible stuff. We all knew about the relationship issues with Jerry Krause and Michael and Phil and Scotty. I mean, the whole league knew about it. I think what's amazing is, and it just sheds the light that there's dysfunction sometimes with things that look great. You know, sometimes you're out there winning and your team's playing great and people think all is good, and sometimes it's just not, but you have to play through it and work yourself through it. And it was amazing that they were able to keep it together through that season.
I mean, you also shared this photo of the 82-83 All-American team a while back. Is this when you first met Michael?
The Playboy All-American team, yeah. That was yeah, boy.
Wow.
That's the young Doc right there. Look at you.
That was the young Doc right there. That's a pretty cool photo, man.
Looking like us.
It was funny. I took Michael back to my house because we were in Chicago, and it was funny. Michael, I think Ralph Sampson and Patrick all came over to the house for dinner that night. So it was a really cool fellowship. And that's when I saw Michael. I mean, Michael was trash talking Patrick that entire weekend. You know, so you got a little glimpse of who Michael was. They had just beaten Georgetown, and he would not let up. So I think we got a little glimpse of who Michael was even back then.
Who else is in that photo? Is that Sam Bowie?
That's Sam Bowie, Ralph Sampson, Sam Perkins, Dale Ellis, pretty good team. Enos Watley is the guy sitting on the ball. And for the life of me, I cannot figure out who's sitting down to the right under Sam and Ralph Sampson.
That is a framer, though. That is a classic picture. We got a couple more classic pictures for you, Coach. In the league, you faced off first against Jordan as a Hawk.
Yeah.
What story can you tell us about going up against him?
Well, I was about to take him and dunk on him on that one. Since there's no video to it, I'm just going to color it in on myself.
Right.
But he was tough. I mean, I had to guard him most of the time. And, you know, I know that story came out. It's a true story about when we played back-to-back games with him. And I think we held him, not to his career low, but he had a pretty tough night against us. And we played them the next night. And the true story is he did walk in our locker room after the game to alert us that good luck tomorrow. I'll see you tomorrow. He didn't say what he was going to do. He just walked in and said, "Hey guys, I want you all to know good luck tomorrow. I can't wait to see you." It was a message.
Wait, why do I feel like Jordan, like he did that all the time? He just went into other people's locker rooms just to let them know.
Yeah, it's funny. When Chris Paul and those guys tried to do it in LA, it became a big scene.
The secret tunnel. The secret tunnel.
Hey, Jordan was a savage. Oh my!
He was the natural savage of anybody, guys, anybody that I've ever faced. Like you had to bring it. You knew going into the game what you were facing. You know, it's funny. I always get that question, like, how did you go in to guard Jordan? I said, well, you had to convince yourself that night that you were going to be better because he was tough. He was a mess. He was vicious. He was mean. He was tough. He was physical.
Look at you.
But you had to fight him. You had to fight him, as you can see there. Because if you didn't, he was going to get the best of you. That was good defense, by the way.
Hey, y'all see the emotions after the play right there? That was Doc in the locker room when he used to give me and Rondo the business during film.
I did.
You mentioned having to be physical. In 1992, you joined the Knicks in the thick of that rivalry. I want you to look at this play. You seem to fit right in. Do you remember specifically what happened on this drive?
Grainy footage.
I don't know. I'm going to say I probably brought my leg up. That's going to be my guess.
Yeah, all
right. Let's get that angle, that other angle. Hey, Coach, they call this the Karl Malone. That's the Karl Malone right there.
Yeah. Well, listen, that's how we played back then, as we all know. Like, if you wanted to stand in there, you know, we were taught early, you raise that knee up, and if the guy's willing to take the hit, you know, Jordan was willing to take the hit, so you got to give him credit.
Jordan rules. I mean, there was definitely some bad blood between, you know, those two teams, the Knicks, the Bulls. What was it like in the Eastern Conference Finals that year?
It was tough. I joined it, you know, the year after. The first year, I guess it was, you know, with Xavier McDaniels. And then I came in the next year. So the bad blood was already there. You know what's interesting? Jordan and I, up until that point, had a really good relationship. But it kind of changed after I joined the Knicks.
I do want to fast forward a little bit in your career in 2004 when you became the head coach of the Boston Celtics. That team had Paul Pierce, Antoine Walker, Gary Payton, and a 20-year-old Kendrick Perkins. And Coach, your name has come up probably every episode of Hoop Stream since Perk has come the beginning on the show, because I have to settle something with you. Perk has repeatedly said on this show that he would have been an all-star if, quote, Doc Rivers didn't turn me into a role player.
Yeah. That may be true. You know what I did? I turned Perk into a winner. And I was thinking, you could be a winner or you could be an all-star. It's your choice. And I think right now he would take winner over all-star. But I got to give him credit, man, for a young player to buy into a role. That's literally impossible for a lot of the young guys to do. They don't want it. They want it. They have their set them, start them, and I get that. But when you have a team with Paul on it, Rondo, and then and then Kevin and Ray, everyone's got to play their role. And Perk was the king of that on our team, and without that, we don't win.
Perk.
So Doc, listen, I'll be joking about that, right? Because I'm like, first of all,
I know.
I'm joking about that, right? But seriously, like, I think the day you called me into your office when I was young, this before KG got there, Ray, I was 20 years old, right? And you just got the coaching job, and you called me into the office, and you was like, "Hey, Perk," and you gave me this long speech about knowing your role. It's okay to be who you are as a player, screen setter, a defender, finishing around the basket. You said, look at Ben Wallace. He had a long career. You told me about like how to carry myself off the court. You taught me about routine. And I always said this, and I said this yesterday on the podcast out here in Houston. They was like, who was the two most, far as in your basketball career, who was the two most influenced people like in your career? And I was like, my high school coach, because he helped me get to the league. And I said it was Doc, because if like what people don't understand is the average years in the NBA is 3.5 to 4 years. And I think when you gave me that speech and you taught me to be okay with who I am and brought me into the office and taught me and gave me that hour-long speech, I was cool with who I was, and I knew what I brought to the table every night. And I think that's what helped me have a 14-year career. And I just want to say I appreciate you for that, because it opened up my eyes to how to be a professional on and off the court. And to be honest, without you, I don't think I would have lasted that long, because you see a lot of guys that have a problem with accepting their role and being a star in their role. And I was okay with it. I blocked out all the nonsense. Even when I left Oklahoma City, when I left to go, when I got traded to OKC, I was cool. I caught a lot of heat for not averaging a lot of points, but I was okay with being okay with being a screen setter and being a defensive anchor because of that speech that you gave me. And I don't know if I ever told you that, but I appreciate that. And I think that's what really had me have a long career in the NBA.
Well, number one, Perk, that makes me feel great. But listen, you know, like I know, man, like there's so many guys that they fight their roles and fight who they are and they're so uncomfortable with it. I don't know when being a role player was a bad thing. Like, when did that, like, there's times now, even as a coach, if you tell a player that, listen, you're a role player, they look at you like they want to kill you. And it's not bad. Like, it's not bad being a role player. And a great role player, there's been many role players that have been all-stars. Charles Oakley was a role player, right? But man, was he great to have on his team and understood his role. So, I appreciate it. But Perk, the only way it works is you got to have somebody to listen to it. And you were willing to do that. And that's why you're where you're at, is because you were willing to listen and understand who you were.
Coach, I want to ask you a question about leading into 2008. First of all, you guys had a really tough 06-07 season. I believe at one point losing 16 games in a row. We had
18.
Danny on
18.
My bad. I was trying to clean it up for you guys. But we had Danny Ainge on a couple of weeks ago, and we asked him, was there at any point did you guys ever feel like, man, our jobs are in jeopardy? This thing is gonna, ownership may want to make a change. And he said, no, we always knew we were on the right path with the right people. We just needed to make some adjustments. But Danny's a front office guy, and I know coaches have a different mentality and a different perception of the world. Take us back to 06-07. Did you feel?
Yeah, Danny was great. Danny was absolutely wonderful. Like, I got to tell you, he helped me so much because, taking losses is hard. Like, people don't realize when you do that, it goes on the coach's record. When you look at my record right now, all those losses from those years go on that. And you wasn't trying to lose, but you knew what you were trying to do at the same time. And, Danny was great because every day, like after every game, he would come in and just kept saying, we're good, man. Just trust me. We're going to get this right. I would bet Danny said that 40 times that year. During the losing streak, you would walk out, and in the fans, they would have paper bags on their head, man, with Danny's name and my name on it. So it takes a lot. And it's funny, being in Boston, they're the greatest fans, and they can be the toughest fans at the same time. And I remember the one time that I was about to lose it during the game because a guy was just killing our players. And, I realized then that I'll take the heat, but I'm not going to let you attack my players, And so I remember turning to the fan, and I was about to go off, and Tommy Heinsohn, who was doing the game, was sitting right next to, that's back when the TV crew used to sit right next to the bench. He sees me turn around. He jumps up, takes his mic off, and stands in between. and yells to me, "No, Doc, don't." And I'll never forget that. I don't know where I was about to go, but I was about to go off. And I'm so thankful for obviously Tommy doing that. But really, Danny was the savior for me. Like, he kept me sane. He would come in, and Perk, you guys saw it all the time. Like, he really did. Because, from a coach, I don't think when people understand, when you're losing, every day you're still trying to get your guys to believe they can win. Every game you have to give them that belief going into games, to play hard, play together, to play right. And then after the game, you've taken another loss. It's a brutal thing to go through.
And then I guess from there, what kind of conversations were you having with the locker room, but specifically with a guy like Paul Pierce, multiple-time All-Star, star in this league, telling him how you making him feel calmer throughout all that losing?
So I was Danny for Paul. I needed Danny for me, and Paul needed me because listen, I'll give Paul credit because that was right in the time where most guys were jumping ship, right? Like, if things wasn't going well, they would go join another team. I'll give Paul a lot of credit. He may have thought about it, but he never voiced it. And every time we talked about it, he just said, "Hey, I'm good. I just need some help. We got some good young guys, man. We got to get some veterans." And that's what Paul kept saying. We got to get some veterans. I think Paul was the only guy in that draft that year where, we had a chance of getting Odom or Durant. Was hoping we didn't get either one. He wanted veterans, man. He had Perk, and we had, at the time, we had Al, and we had Rondo. I don't think Paul wanted any more young guys. He wanted the veterans to go with the young guys, and in turn, it turned out to be a right thing.
Perk, is that what you remember?
Yeah, everything about it. Listen, Doc can tell you, and this is what I said about what separates the Boston fan base from any other fan base, in my opinion. Like, they are really tough and they're spoiled. So at the end of the day, they are accustomed to winning. Even when we was losing games, the arena was still filled. Like, they were still coming to the game, and it's like you can't fool them because they know the game so well. And I remember, Doc, man, he stuck through it, man, because they was giving him a hard time. Like, we had a young team. We had the youngest team in the league, right? And we wasn't focused. We was going out partying every night and doing things that we shouldn't have been doing. No, seriously. Because one time, Doc had got a message this game night. Now, Gerald Green is our starting two guard, and this is game day. We leave shoot around, and Doc gets word back that Gerald Green was walking and strolling and shopping in the mall before the game. So imagine that as a coach, as an NBA coach, you having to deal with that. Like, you're supposed to be in your bed getting rest and getting your mind right to go out there and play the game of basketball. And here it is, Doc got to come in and deal with basically a bunch of, college players, because we all were young, but we didn't understand winning. We was trying to get our own stats. And then Doc was taking a lot of heat. He was taking heat from the fans, but he stood tall. And he was like, and I remember I went to the paper and I was like, the fans don't need to be booing Doc and talking about fire Doc. They need to get rid of some of these players in the locker room. And that includes me, because we wasn't taking it serious. And that's the truth.
Well, I think people forget that team had 3 high school guys: Gerald Green, Perk, Sebastian Telfair. We had Rondo, who had 1 year under in college. So it was literally a college team that we were coaching.
You had Al too.
Oh yeah, and Al. Yeah. So it was a very young team, and so they didn't at that time. We had to try to teach them just a routine, a game day routine. The Gerald Green example is a great example of the things that we had to deal with. But listen, obviously it was tough losing, but the teaching part, from a coaching aspect, that part was fun. It was just very difficult on Paul, if you remember, Perk, because I would have to go over stuff for the 10th time, and Paul was losing his mind because he had been taught all this stuff already.
Right.
Well, at least none of them were playing golf with Danny Ainge. And then video recording it. Oh man.
Who was taping that? Who was taping that?
That was tough.
Today, Doc. If that would
I
have
even
happened
called
today.
Danny. When I saw that the other day, I even called Danny. I was like, what are you doing, brother? My goodness.
And I'll tell you, like I said, they had someone recording it. Like, who was?
They had it on tape.
Oh my goodness.
Had it on tape. But you guys are talking about how the Celtics fans were spoiled. Right now, Coach, you're with a fan base that is starving for a championship.
Yeah, it's cool.
And there's so many similarities between that Celtics team and your current Clippers team. You know, after acquiring Paul George and Kawhi Leonard in one summer, how do you compare your experience, or to with the Celtics, and how it's prepared you for your current squad?
Well, you know, when I came to the Celtics, I think people forget they hadn't won a title in 17 or 18 years.
Right.
So they were in a long drought. And, you know, it's funny, when I first came in, the first thing I saw that we had to do was change the culture. You know, you would think this is the Boston Celtics. But when you haven't won in that long, we were everybody was still holding on to the past. And, you know, I remember coming in, changing a lot of stuff. And Perk, you saw a lot of the changes. You know, I changed the locker room. Like, I was like, we're getting rid of this locker room at the Garden. I didn't want to see the old locker room anymore. I just thought we needed a facelift. And so the Clippers were very similar. You know, the difference is, in being honest, we wouldn't be here, and I wouldn't be here if the Sterling thing hadn't have happened, as crazy as that sounds, because there was no way we were going to be successful with Sterling as an owner. It just wasn't going to happen. He wasn't going to let us. He wasn't going to let us spend the money, which wouldn't have allowed us to be successful. And Steve Ballmer has come in and allowed us to do all the things that we're doing, and that's made a huge difference for us.
Yeah, and this season alone, I mean, obviously we're in such a point of unknown across the board, but you know, you guys were having so much success, title favorites throughout the season. What feeling are you having about not knowing if you're going to be able to complete this season together?
Oh, anxiety. Anxiety is what you're having, like, because you want to, you know, like this wasn't like the 2018 where, you know, I was talking to Eddie House recently, and we were talking about, we knew on day one in training camp, like, you could feel it, you could see it. It was just there. This team's been different, mainly because of the injury stuff. You know, we didn't have Paul George for training camp. We didn't have Kawhi for most of camp and most of preseason. None of preseason for Paul George. He missed the first, 13 games. And what really bothers me right now is because if you look at our last 10 games, that was the Clippers. That was going to be the version of the Clippers. Like, you could finally see it coming together. Paul was starting to get his legs and start, you know, adding Reggie and Marcus. We kind of had the right pieces in place. We had the right rotation starting to come, and you can just feel us about to take off and grow. And then, bam, it was taken away from us. But, you know, as I've said before, we talk a bunch. I try to talk to my players, 3 or 4 of them a day. And we have this thing called win the wait. And, you know, I tell them every day, guys, it's going to start back. And we cannot use that it's different or the format, because we don't know what the format's going to be. We just have to be ready when it's time. And that's where you got to trust your players that they're doing the work. So far, they are.
Oh, we wait and see if you guys will have an opportunity to, you know, get on that playoff run, finals run. You can watch a finals run and championship that you actually completed tonight as we take it back to our main attraction, the 2008 finals. And tonight, starting at 7 Eastern on ESPN, you can watch Game 4. Which, look, you trailed 35-14 in the first quarter. Lamar Odom went off 13 points. But then you had this amazing comeback. What happened? What was the turnaround in that game?
Well, we stayed patient. I think the biggest thing in that game was right before halftime. You know, and I don't recollect, but I think we cut it to like 18 or something like that. And so I felt like, if Perk, you remember, each time I called a timeout, I kept saying, get it to this number, get it to this number, get it to this number, and keep believing. And then I think us going small really affected them. And they really never adjusted to it. I thought our small lineup with Eddie House at the point, Posey at the 4, Kevin at the 5, it gave us a lot of spacing, and I thought it changed the game for us. And they really never adjusted to it.
Man, you gotta love Eddie House out there, man. That's a dude with a lot of confidence.
A lot of confidence.
Hey, Coach, let me ask you something. I was thinking about this the other day. Before you and guys acquired Garnett and Ray Allen, your teams that you're coaching, Orlando and Boston, had the reputation as overachievers, right? You might have one star, but a lot of those guys were unheralded players. But you guys, the whole was greater than the sum of the parts, and coaching that kind of team requires a certain approach. Now you inherit Hall of Famers. What did you have to adjust, and were there things that you had to learn, or did you automatically know, okay, I'm going to start doing things a little different because I have a different caliber of talent in my locker room now?
Well, I don't think you already know anything in this life and in this league, but you do make assumptions. And, clearly before it always were the sum of the parts, right? Like that's how I got, I had great teams in Orlando that, with injuries, we still won. Like my teams win. Right. And so with this team, listen, I got Kevin, Ray, and Paul. And the first 3 guys I had to go to were those 3 guys. And they'll tell you, we had this big meeting where we went on the duck boat, just us 3. And I asked them, like, what are they going to give up? Like, what are you guys going to give up to win? And they all were looking at me like they didn't understand exactly what I meant. And I give Kevin right away, his answer back, his question was, what do you need me to give up? And I said, shots. I need all you guys to give up shots. I need you guys to defend. I need you to play together. I need you to lead. Because I really felt if those 3 guys were coachable, then everybody else would be even. I already had a relationship with Rondo. I had a relationship with Perk. So I felt strong there. But I didn't know Kevin and Ray. Literally didn't know them. And so I just needed them to understand what it was going to take early. And they bought in early. Perk, you saw it early from camp. And then, what else? I thought our bench, the guys that we recruited, Tony Allen does not get a lot of play. And he really should, because Tony was another. He was like a hired assassin for that team, and Eddie House and Posey. So we had the perfect role players that went along with the great stars, those 3 guys, and then PJ Brown coming in. So that was it. Like to sell them on what it would take to win, and that they all would have to give up something for us to win.
And so by the time you made it to Game 6 in those finals, it was a complete blowout. Was it just all those parts just working perfectly together that game?
Yeah, I don't remember a lot of my speeches before the game. It's funny when I talk to Perk and Rondo and KG and Paul, they always recite some of these speeches I gave. And I'm not kidding. I literally have no recollection of most of them. It's actually too bad. But I remember this. I remember before the game, and Perk, if you remember, I walked in because you remember our flight was delayed. I think we got in like at 2 a.m. Yeah. I canceled shoot around. We didn't have shoot around for that game, but I walked in and I remember saying, guys, we're going to win tonight and we're going to win big. And this game will not be close. And I remember talking about that it was going to be a process to get there, but we were going to win big. I don't ever say that. I don't know what made me say that. But I said that before that game.
Oh, you just
we was on a mission, but you know what else? Our preparation, like our practices, and Doc can tell you this, our practices, we literally went to blows with our second unit. Like it was when Doc said it was time to scrimmage, he had to call it off because I'm talking about we was going at it, but our second unit was not backing down. Like, I'm talking about like we was in dog fights every practice, like talking noise. We had a couple of, altercations here and there, but our preparation, the way we were in film session, our shoot-arounds with Doc and Tills was like intense and focused. And I thought KG set the tone of like sacrificing. Like from the jump, he took the back seat, like, because in my opinion, KG obviously was the best player on that team. That's just my opinion. But he put himself third to Paul and Ray. Doc, you remember it came to a point where we used to have to tell KG, hey, if you pass the ball out of the post again, it's going to be a problem. Go to work. Like, he was that unselfish to the point where it was like he set the tone. So it was like, if you got KG doing this, then everybody else pretty much got to fall in line. And then everybody else, Doc would get on KG in film session. KG wouldn't say a word. So the only person that Doc had to go back and forth with was, of course, Rondo, right? His point guard. Because, Rondo want to go back and forth with everybody. But that's dope. That's who he is. But I think our preparation, that's what made us great. And we knew one thing. If we got you back to the Boston Garden, you was in trouble.
Yeah, I agree with that. Like, I felt that getting back there. And that is so true with KG, though. Like, I don't know how me and KG's arguments were over him not shooting most of the time. If you remember, Perk, I would call a timeout and yell at KG, I said, move the ball. And he said, yeah, that's what I'm doing. I said, no, we're saying move it to you so you can shoot it, not so you can pass it. But Kevin was so unselfish as a player. There were many times that I had to give him a number before the game as far as you have to take this many shots for us to win. He's the only guy I've ever had to do that to.
Hey, Doc, so look, I got one question for you, right? And I never asked you this. I never text you this. I never even brought this up in our conversation. But when I got traded from OKC, was you disappointed in your boy Perk for going to the Cavs and not coming with you to the Clippers that time in the bottom?
Yeah, I was going to shoot you when I found out you were not coming with me, to be honest. Let me just get that out there. But I was good, Perk. Like, I understood too. Like, I got it. Like, that wasn't a hard one for me, except for that you wasn't coming with me. Because we had such an amazing relationship. After you were, the toughest day of, and I've said this many times, of my coaching career was that day we traded you. You remember that. What you never saw was our locker room that night. That after we traded you, I remember we were playing Denver, and I walked in the locker room with my assistants. I was like, I don't know how much we're going to lose by tonight, but this is not going to be a pretty night for us because you can feel it, So when you went there, I could deal with it. I didn't like that you were joining our enemy, but I can help. I could handle it. It was okay because it was you.
Let me tell you why, though. This was the deciding factor. I wanted to come to the Clippers because I'm like, this Doc, this is who raised me in the NBA world. But the deciding factor in this, I was like, you know what? Ty Lue over there, T. Lue, who Doc also raised. So I was like, Cleveland had just won like 22 out of 24. I'm like, they coming out of the East for sure. So in my mind, I was ring chasing at the time because I was like, it's March. Let me hurry up and get over there. But I was like, I don't think Doc will be mad at me because T. Lue over here. So I'm going to go over there because Ty Lue was over there. That's the only reason, and that's the time factor. That was it.
That's what saved you. That's the only thing that saved you, really, because I love Ty Lue, like I do. I think he's one of the smarter minds in this game. And so it's funny, I called Ty, and I told him, don't ruin this for Perk. Like, you take care of my man. And then I told Ty to tell you, but tell him I'm still mad at him.
Hey, and Perk's getting his weight down, Coach. So now he gets both you and Ty on the Clippers at some point, right, Perk? Want to get No,
I can't do it. even if I did get my way down, there's no way I'm keeping up with this pace, the way this pace is going.
Well,
Yeah,
there's
this
always
league, this is a different pace, man. The way we play now it's a great pace, but it's different.
But there's always 08, and there's always that finals win for the Boston Celtics. Can't wait to watch it again tonight on ESPN, starting at 7 Eastern with Game 4, and then 9:30 with Game 6. Coach, thank you so much for taking the time
Thank you.
to go down memory lane here, and we really.
Hey guys, this is a lot of fun. I can't wait to get back to work, but this was a lot of fun.
Right. We feel you. Coming up next week on Hoop Streams, we're going to look at the 04 Pistons and the 14 Spurs, and we'll probably continue to talk about Michael Jordan, of course. So thank you to everyone. Stay safe, stay home, and have a great night. Enjoy the 08 finals.